Sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Please try your call again later. Bye.
Come on, Trix.
Voicemail on the phone is on. If it wasn't on, it wouldn't ring. She promised good stories this week, too.
She doesn't come on. It's, we'll give it a bit. It's up to us to decide if we want to just do a makeshift mini-sode or,
I hate when we get stuck on Muse episodes. It's such a drag.
I know.
Hello and welcome everybody to episode 167 of Dissonant Waves. Wow!
Scraw.
That's Ritz. I'm Domino.
Hello.
Trix is probably asleep. Everything's going well over there. Maybe she'll pop out in the middle of the episode. Who knows?
Tune in to find out.
Yeah, tune in to find out.
You have to watch the whole episode. You can't stop at any point.
The live reaction will not be televised, except it probably will.
Yeah, probably will be.
Anyway,
Hello.
we're here to talk about some albums. We've got Ritz shows, Metdog, questions and answers regarding computers and science. Computers and screens. Then we got Infants Under the Ball by Uranium Club. I chose Thom Yorke's The Eraser Rmxs and Muse's infamous album Drones. And Trix chose Osee's album Intercepted Message. And I think for this time around, I'm going to guess we have the same album with the least to talk about.
If we want to do some filler before we start, just in case we do get a procrastinate earlier than expected. Do you remember where the last point I left on my gig journey actually recorded was?
The one I just posted, which I believe was our last Radiohead episode, I just posted this week. I believe you had a big update then. That's a month ago.
Yeah, roughly around a month ago, which would have been around 12th of May, I reckon it probably would have been.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that was talking about the beaches, I think, was the last one.
That was not the end of it, but that was definitely one of the later ones.
Gee, I gotta do
I can look and see.
Do the math on that, because I've seen... Yeah, when did it get recorded?
Check file property.
I don't mark down when I've mentioned all these in recordings, everybody, so that's like why I kind of don't know where I'm at. So it's been like a hectic month, so... Yeah,
it's been hectic, for sure. That one was recorded on the 13th of May for me, so...
Yep. It would have mean the beaches would be the last one.
Okay.
Alright, so, I guess we start off with... That would have been gig 53? Let me actually just confirm that on there in the very quickest way that I can by scrolling upwards in this little thing that only I post. Yep, that was gig 53. Gig 54 was the Luca Brasi Spanish love songs. I've talked a bit about that one because we covered Spanish love songs and Luca Brasi in the same one. That was me traveling down to Canberra for that gig on a whim. Do not do that. That is not a good idea. Catching a 1 a.m. bus back from Canberra to Sydney sucks.
How far is it?
I got back home it's a 3.5 hour bus. I got back home at 5 a.m.
That's a long bus.
No. Yeah. It's not public transport. You have to book the bus. You have to go and say, okay, here's my ticket, I get on. And they have a 1 a.m. bus from Canberra, and the reason that they have that is because everybody gets off at the airport, except for me and 3 other people.
How long was the show?
The show, I think it started at like 7:30 was the opener, I'd like to say. I think Sunrun was then, and it would have ended probably around 10:45. So I had 2 hours to kill in Canberra with nothing open on a Wednesday night.
That's a 5-hour show?
Yeah, but I mean, I got to go a little backstage because good old DJ Y was there. We shared an Uber back to Canberra Central.
That's fun.
So I got to kill a bit of time, but it was like still 12 o'clock when I got back into Canberra because I mean, bands don't stay at the venue till 5 a.m. They got a touring schedule.
Or they want to go eat and nap somewhere. Yeah.
I actually, like I said, I think I mentioned it. I found out what happens in the backstage at the Luca Brasi Spanish Love Songs gig, and I'll tell you, it's hummus and celery.
What they don't know is that the hummus.
It was really.
The hummus is actually a week.
Really clean back there. Oh, maybe actually. After that, decided to stay in Sydney for a while, which is how it's been for a bit here. But there is a couple which had some travel at the end. I saw Sparta at the Metro Theatre. Sparta is Jim Ward's side project, or I guess his now main band, as he's not in at the drive-in anymore. But back when he was in at the drive-in, it was a side project of that. It was, I think, the 20-year anniversary tour of an album. What was it? It was, God, Wikipedia load up. Oh, Wiretap Scars. So yeah, it was a 20-year, even though it's been like 22 years. Anniversary is the fucking word I'm looking for. Of that, I'd like to say that one was like a really interesting gig and everything that happened, but it was pretty bog standard. I think the most interesting thing about that is the curtain of doom had to be brought up in the crowd because it undersold.
Oh shit!
Yeah, there's a couple of gigs that have that. The second Luca Brasi one, which was a bit afterwards. I'm going to skip the second Luca Brasi show as well because there's not really much to talk about that isn't really talked about in the Canberra. I mean, they're great. It's just, yeah, there's not really much different. Slater Kinney, I actually then saw at the same venue a couple of days after Sparta, and that one is a bit more interesting because that one, when it comes to the Curtain of Doom, wasn't there, and it was a near sold out Metro, but it's still undersold as a gig because it was originally supposed to happen at the Enmore Theatre, which I'll get the capacity difference right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Metro Theatre capacity, I think it's like 1,000. Might even be less than that. What is the capacity of Metro? No, that's not it. I'm trying to see. Yeah, Metro Theatre goes from 550 to 1,350, depending on what's being used and what so. Whilst Enmore Theatre is 1,630 to 2,500.
That's pretty big.
And it was originally supposed to happen at the Enmore. $100 tickets. And the promoters are like, okay, this isn't selling. Let's just dial it back a bit. And by dial it back, they only dialed back the capacity venue. It was still a $100 ticket. I didn't pay that. I went on Tixel. And I paid $50. I was watching this price go down and down and down and down, and it went to $50. I'm like, I will pay that. And they were okay. I'd like to say that they were absolutely fantastic. I mean, the drummer who's replaced Janet West, they're a great drummer. Don't get me wrong about that. But yeah, I mean, they were just okay. I wanted to love it more than I did. But I thought there was a chance of me hating it, and I didn't hate it. It was a good show. That's just about it, though. Afterwards, Polish Club played at the Sydney Spiegel tent. That would have been gig 57, if I'm doing the math correct on this. Yes. And the Spiegel tent is this little pop-up venue that's created in Entertainment Quarter. Entertainment Quarter is where we got our Allianz Stadium that sometimes hosts things, but it's mostly football. Horden Pavilion, which is a lot bit larger. That's like that's where like Cranes of the Stone Age or the Strokes are played.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Liberty Hall, which I actually saw Royal Otis at earlier this year. And then the Spiegel tent, which is a small little venue where it's so there's no barrier or anything there. It's really small, really cute, to be honest. You could quite easily actually go to a part of the tent where you're behind the band as well, so you could watch from the drummer, from like the area where the drummer is, but you're not on the stage, obviously.
I'm sure that'd be a really sick POV shot.
I wasn't. Yeah, well, that's the picture I've taken from that one is from behind the band. It's a pretty cool one on that.
Yeah.
Yes, that one had. I think it was like $40 tickets, and we had 3 different openers for it. We had Sesame Girl, Rat Public and Jet City Sports Club, who you will hear that name a couple more times coming up in the gigs that are happening here. Yeah, again, that one I probably preferred to Sleater-Kinney as well. I mean, Polish Club were pretty tight, and that's a band I've always felt studio-wise have been very inconsistent with their efforts. I think they have some very strong starts to their albums, but pretty weak middle. But I mean, they had a cover of 17 Going Under, which wasn't like, it's not like this whole you need to drop this right now, but it was fun. I'd like to get more reviews about some of these stuff. So sometimes it really is just when you're like at these gigs, it's like, yeah, it's just good. It's nothing that's like exceeded expectations. There's nothing that's
sometimes things are just
really made you go, yeah. But now that that's all been done, we can go to one where I can say it did get to that really fucking great expectations. And I think, Dominic, you're about to do the oh shit that was happening. And that's the Spunk 25 finale concert that happened at the Sydney Opera House, where the main act was Explosions in the Sky. They were absolutely fantastic. It's this instrumental post-rock. They were doing The World Is Not a Dark, Cold Place in full. Hearing post-rock live is just another experience. It just the way that you hear the contrast and just the volumes and the music that comes into it, and it just hits so much better live. And this was like a sitting down kind of concert. There wasn't really any visuals or anything that were happening. It was just they said, "Hey, we're just going to play the music. It's going to be done, and then you got to enjoy the rest of your night."
Mm-hmm.
And it was still really fucking good. The middle act for that, I know I'm going backwards, but we're going to do the oh shit moment at the end. It was a New Zealand folk artist called Aldous Harding. She also didn't say much, but she was very charismatic, despite it.
I always love charismatic.
Like she just had she had a way of really talking with her actions, and then also letting the music do the work. And it was a 20-minute set. It was shorter than the opener, and yeah, no, she just absolutely killed it. Did a really short "This Is Who I Am," kind of in her music, not actually in description, because she never said "Hi, I'm out." I don't even think she said "Hi, I'm Aldous Harding."
Just came on stage, played songs, and that was it.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, if you can find one of the videos, you'll see what I mean by it. It's like charismatic. It's really fucking funny. Anyway, so the holy shit moment, Dominic. The opener was the Middle East.
The opener was the Middle East. Yes, very.
The opener was the Middle East.
I need to see them.
And
love to see them.
They were opening for Zach Bryan. That was the US tour.
I need money to afford.
I don't know how much Zach Bryan was charging. Yeah, I know. That one, they change up. Like, the first time I saw them, they did it in this kind of continuous way where every song was kind of streamlined into the other one. And they didn't do it this time, but this time they still did reimagine their songs.
Oh?
Yeah, we had some more kind of, like, funky versions at some point. I think Dan Silverleaf was the one where it was sung by the piano player instead, and it had a different mixing and style to the whole song. It was an interesting take that they were doing on their own work. I think we got a couple of non-Middle East songs in the set as well. I'll have to get up the set list and stuff like that. But you didn't get like the classics like Jesus Came to My Birthday Party, or you didn't get Lonely. But we did get Land of the Bloody Unknown. We did get Dan Silverleaf. We did get
Did you Pearl Hall?
Oh, was it Dan Silverleaf or was it Mumps? It was one of those two. I think it might have been Mumps. They didn't do Pearl Hall. They did do Darkest Side, and they did Blood, and those ones were both pretty standard to how they actually are.
No weird deep cuts.
Yeah, no. Oh, I think the deep cuts are more so on their side projects and stuff. I can't get the actual set list up. It's been a while, but yeah, that absolutely fantastic concert. And I don't like the Opera House. I think it's an overrated venue, but it's good when you get sets like that. I mean, that was just chef's kiss. Next up on the list, this would have been gig 60, Regurgitator, which we haven't done Regurgitator in a while because you two didn't like it, you cunts.
I'm always ready to do another one.
That one, they ended it with a cover of "Don't You Forget About Me" for some reason. That was the encore.
I mean, the
And
Defiant's not a bad encore.
they played for like 2 hours, and they had 3 openers. And Party Dozen, who I'd heard good things about, I saw for the first time, who were opening,
Yeah.
and they were like Lightning Bolt and Clowncore. That's like the closest I can describe it.
So really,
Because it
really
had that kind of
noisy, loud, and then clowncore.
Yeah, but it's just the drummer and the vocalist who has a saxophone as well. So that's what I get by like the clowncore kind of setup and stuff like that. But it's more noisy in the way that Lightning Bolt is.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's not as chaotic as clowncore, but it is still pretty chaotic. Recommend that. They were fucking fantastic. Cry Club as well. Were really good. I wasn't big into Monster Zoku on Som. They were very like they reminded me a lot like Trope. You know, it's the whole like it's a very gimmicky style type of music
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of like dance party kind of way, and you know, for some people that works. For me, I wasn't into it. That's just basically what I can say about that. I apparently they've been around for like 20 years, so I absolutely respect their efforts. But yeah, it's not for me.
Sure.
Number 61 now. I saw Dice. This goes back into those kind of. That was the concert I went to. I can't really tell you much that happened. Jet City opened for that one as well, so that's now the second time I've mentioned them.
Can I ask you a question to break
You will
this
hear
off
that name
there?
again. Go ahead.
What do you do with sets that aren't for you? Like, how do you get through it?
I still just watch it.
Are you kind of
I
like
hope
in your
for something
head that
good.
time though, or are you just kind of like trying to just let it be a thing?
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying here. There are times where you can go a bit in your head when you don't like something, and you just like, you know, how do you break free? And when you don't like something, you know, you're very much going like, I don't like this, I don't like this, and that becomes a refusal to accept anything else that's happening. And it was last year I saw Last Dinosaurs. Last Dinosaurs had a really weak start to their set. The crowd wasn't really moving. You know, I'm not saying this and you had to move or anything like that, but usually when you have a quite more of a dance rocky, people would like to move a bit more. Not a heavy mosh, just like that. And then randomly they did the cover medley that they did, and suddenly the set that was looking to be kind of like a bit of a failure had come alive. So whilst I can't say that was the best concert I ever went to that year or anything like that was still a moment in which that set could have easily have quite failed.
Sure.
And it did get better. There was a moment in which everything finally clicked and it got good. And that's really, I can't really give any recommendations to how to get out of your stride if you think something's bad or how to enjoy it. And I'll mention something a bit later as well in this because I've still got a couple more gigs to go through. But in a sense, like even if you think something's bad, it sets are ever changing. It can suddenly just like pull you in or pull everyone in. On the other hand, I've seen a set in which it started off incredibly strong. It was an opener for Pendulum back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible start. They had the whole crowd pumping. They were throwing beach balls and stuff like that, and everybody was hyped. And then the power went out on their sound, and their set just died because they couldn't, and they just couldn't revive it.
That sucks.
So on the other side, things can happen. That's just live music. Yeah, I don't really have to talk too much about Dice other than I traveled to fucking Manly for that, and Manly's not that far, so yeah. It was good. I was told by somebody that they were very mid, but I thought they were good. I'm not that interested in Dice, I guess. I just wanted to give them a try.
You're more into some bigger sided die, I'm sure. A D20.
Yeah, fair enough. Bar Italia, which I still need to cover on this podcast one day. They're another one of those. They didn't say really anything in between the songs. You didn't know when they were closed or finished or anything like that. But they just had so much fucking energy in their performance of their songs and stuff like that. It was just really good. That being said, I didn't play Maddington, and I'm still pissed about that. The opener for that really didn't suit the vibe that Bar Italia had.
That's another interesting
It was so. Oh no, I got uncomfortable because they did a Crystal Castles cover. I can't remember what song.
God, interesting. What a choice to make.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was from 2.
I mean,
I think it was. I think it was Celestica.
what a choice. Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, also
I was
choosing.
like, do you know what Ethan Carve's done, girl?
I feel like any discussion or like use of crystal castles has to include like something about if you must.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was just a Tears of Crystal Castles cover. It's like, okay.
It's like, yeah,
Okay.
it's like someone doing a Gary Glitter song. It's like, why would you do that?
But now talking about another opener in which I wasn't into, and there's a couple, I guess, in a row. I wasn't really into Makeda, but I don't think about it. I wasn't into the opener for Underscores as well. A duo called Agony. This was just a case of the style that they had was just 100% not for me. It was like an emo pop rap kind of like thing. It's just, yeah, I'm not into that. The rest of the crowd was whatsoever. In this case, I wasn't near the stage. I was on the balcony area for that, watching from above. I don't like doing this, but I admit I was doing it on this one. I was kind of on my phone
Yeah.
for the majority of the opener. In my defense, State of Origin was on, so I was looking at the score. But that's a case of sometimes you're just not going to be into it. I don't like people who go to gigs and then like are always on their phone. I've never called someone out on it because there's no need to.
I mean, I tend to be,
but it's kind of like if you yeah, it's like I'm talking about people who
just
were like even
right
during
now.
the main act. If it's
Sure.
yeah, which is like, why are you here? But like, people have rights to exist at concerts. So for those who are agreeing with me, don't fight anybody who's doing that at a show. People, if they're not bothering anybody else, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Sometimes people need to like,
and that's
if they're overloaded, they need to like calm down and like just let it exist for a moment.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's no actual attack. And for the opener, I did it for this one, but I did give him a chance at the start until I realized I just wasn't getting into any of it. And there's your answer: is that sometimes you just can't.
I mean, it's the interesting thing of like, okay, when you're a band. I mean, I obviously I'm not in a band. I don't know, but finding opening acts must be tough because you have to answer several questions. Like, do you want a similar vibe or do you want something different? Are you interviewing?
So who can play on this date?
Yeah. Are you just trying to see who can come? Are you like trying to give their music a shot and interview them? Like, I'm sure it's different for every band.
Like, I'm pretty sure Agony was a local Sydney duo as well. So, full props anytime an international comes and they say the opener is a local band.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know a lot of people hate that shit. When you don't get another international or that. Always, even if Agony appears on another opening set and for another band, I will still go and see them. I try to catch every single set I can. I think that's what everyone should do.
And sometimes
because I paid for the fucking ticket, so I'm getting my fucking money's worth, and I'm seeing as much as the show I can.
And even if like they're an opener that you've never really heard of, and you're not really sure if they really go anywhere, sometimes they just stick out to you. And it's like, I can remember some that I've seen that I've never heard of in any other context, but I'm sure if I looked up the music, they'd be there.
And I once saw somebody, I know, peeking over someone's shoulder and stuff like that when on their phone is not always the greatest thing to do, but my eyes wander, everyone's eyes wander. And I've seen somebody text their friend, and that said, look, I get that they have opening acts to for the sake of trying to show off people, but I wish they would only play I wish they would just get to the band I'm here to see. Which, is... that person wasn't saying it out loud or anything like that. I'm not going to say find that person and kill him or anything like that.
Sure.
And there's a follow-up to this as well. But that is a mentality that some people have.
Nothing I've ever been to will ever be on the level of the Crystal Castle show I did go to, where Health was supposed to be there. Health wasn't there at the end of the day. The opener was great. And then after the opener, it was like an hour wait where they were just piping Wu-Tang Clan through the speakers.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But the follow-up to this is that when Rave Tapes came on as an opener, that person then texted their friend, "This ravey band ain't that bad."
I mean, I think, for our purposes at least, when we're seeing acts and shows and stuff, I think at least mentioning the openers in the chat is good to like just save it for later. Like, oh, what was that band that opened?
I mean, admittedly, when I've been doing this whole thing, I've only been posting the main act or like the main thing for that. But I can't have a photo for every single band that I see. But I still have been documenting every single band that I've seen.
Sure.
Over the year.
Yeah.
If I haven't seen the opener, I haven't documented it. If there was no openers, I've documented it. There was no openers to the band, so that I didn't miss it. Next 2 days, I traveled down south to Miranda and out east to DY, both times to see Dear Seattle.
And that's when
in both cases, in both cases, Dead Shows and Jet City Sports Club, which means over the past, since 23rd of May to now, I have seen Jet City Sports Club 4 times.
And have you talked to them? Have you gotten to know them yet?
I've talked with them a couple times. Just said their little hellos and stuff like that. Been to absolute parasocial, stolen their credit card numbers, all that shit. Nah, I just said a bit of that. I seem to be at a point where the singer and the guitarist recognizes me and says hi. So that's something. That's something. Dead Shows, the drummer took my plushie.
There we go.
I won 2. Yeah, I won 2 plushies on both DC because I was like, fuck yeah, both of these places that has a nearby arcade. I am hitting the crane machines, and I won on both days, and my partner is so pissed. We won a little bird that's name is Chef, and we won a little cat plushie thingy called Snorri, which good old mate from the Oz Music named. They claimed that they had the Your Arms Are My Cocoon song as the reason. I'm just going to believe them.
Sure.
Because that's what I'm choosing as the reasons as it is. And it turns out the drummer had a tattoo of that franchise anyway.
Ooh.
So they have the plushie. They've taken the plushie. I needed it off my hands. She wanted it. It's hers.
I mean, that's what you do anyway. So it ended up working out.
And that did look like to be the end. Well, Chef still needs to find a home.
Oh, you got Snowy.
Anybody who wants Chef, please hit me up. Yeah, Snowy got sent off. Chef needs a home. I got a little panda toy that needs a home as well. That one I got after was it the Sparta show, I think? Yes, I would have gotten it at the Sparta show. Where I won it at the arcade before that. But I didn't win it from a crane machine, I won it from points. And then it would have been that to end it. But yesterday I travelled all the way down to Wollongong. Not yesterday, sorry, 2 days ago. But, it's usually yesterday, but at the time that we usually record, travelled all the way down to Wollongong, and I saw Skeggs.
Mm.
And that was a matinee show, and I got back home at 10 p.m., which doesn't sound that crazy until you realise I left Wollongong at probably around 7:50.
Okay. That's a pretty good time.
So it's like 2 hours travel. Yeah, I don't have a right to complain, seeming as Mr. Record Holder does that every fucking day.
See, now I want the
will.
money to fucking do this shit. That sounds great.
And that's 66 gigs that we're up to now. So we are 2/3.
And we're just now halfway through the year.
And I think that was around 30 minutes of the episode just wrapped up there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I try to do it a bit more often than I have been, because this is basically what I'm doing instead of listening to music.
And you're still listening to music, so it all works out.
I'm still, yeah. Over this course, I have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 different sets. I have a couple more planned at the end of this week as well. I have Deerhoof on the Thursday, Benet, which I know you and Trix would both be excited for, on the Friday. And then rounding out the week with probably, currently the one plan, I might see something the day after if I get a ticket for it. But what rounds out the week is Freezer and Doris.
You've seen Freezer and Doris how many times now?
I've only seen Frieza once, and I've seen Doris 2 times.
It really feels like it's been more. I suppose our coverage is only a year ago.
No, well, I saw them both for the first time at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Doris, I've only seen once since because they opened for Your Arms and Cocoon, which means that I've seen Doris the same amount of times that I've seen Hanoi Traffic. Who again also opened for Your Arms and Cocoon. It's Blind Girls is the one that I've seen the most out of all the Screamo. He has the same Blind Girls 4 times, I'm pretty sure.
You're gonna become the DJY of Screamo in that area.
No, he's actually, I think, the DJY of Screamo still, because I think he's seen Blind Girls 9 times.
But you're commuting with all of them, and you're slowly assembling them like an Avengers of Screamo, Osee Screamo.
I'd like to think that, but trust me, there are some people who see a lot more Screamo than I've been seeing.
That's fair. I'm trying to hype you up, man.
I know, but I'm not gonna lie and say that when I have people that I've been regularly talking to who are seeing a lot more Screamo than I am. It just feels mean to them, you know.
I suppose.
That, and I don't like kidding myself. Yeah, there's hyping it up, and then there's just lying.
Lying is part of life.
Yeah, there's jokes about everyone's going like, "Oh, am I going for the road wreck and shit?" And the answer, like, I mean, realistically, if you want this answer of could I do it now? No, I'm so behind on it. It's just not going to be caught up. Full stop. If I decided to do it now, anyway. But I don't want to anyway because I'm trying to do this in a way that it's budgeted enough. Whilst I'll see if I've ended up gaining or losing money by the end of the year. But it's so far at least been budgeted enough that I've been stabilized at the worst.
Gotcha. I mean, if it's been working out,
and that's truly what I'm trying. Yeah, I've already gone pretty intense as it is at the moment, and I've got a bit at the end of this year as well. A bit coming up as well, and then I got to book more, and we'll get to it as we get to it. I'm going to try and see a couple more free gigs over the next month, I reckon. Actually, speaking of Metdog, who's playing at the end of this month for free as well, so I might check that out. Do we want to start at Metdog since I've done that?
Ask him if they can do the Cartman voice.
I'd like to see. My friends actually caught Metdog live before as well, so should check it out. But yeah, let's get started on the albums. We'll start off with Metdog. I think it's a very quick one to get into. Metdog, questions and answers regarding computers and screens. This is the second album from Egg Punk, I guess, just Egg Punk rockers. I don't think they're that much of a legacy yet when they're pretty young in their band in their stages. But yeah, they put out an album. I can't remember who showed it to me, but someone did, and I was like, actually, I do fuck with this, and that's the story behind this. I figured, hey, I was picking something else that's kind of already close enough to Eggy Punky, so may as well tack this on and just get a bit of a listen to this, I guess.
It's it's from January, so we kind of overlooked it at the beginning of the year, but here it is now.
Yeah,
it's a fun little thing. Pretty short, but it's pretty.
Yeah, it's not a giant like. I couldn't tell you like all this shit to like go on and say like, oh, look at how fucking variety this goes in. I think they've just got their sound and they've stuck to it, which I think is, this is a pretty young band, so doing that kind of stuff is never to really be too frowned upon. It does mean that the album does get a bit at the end, a bit like, okay, well, this will wrap up, I guess, and it gets a bit. I don't want to say unmemorable or that because I think that's a bit too harsh, but I think it just gets overlooked by its strongest points quite easily.
There were some moments that were pretty cool, like when Hey Siri has that kind of beat switch in the middle of it. That was awesome. And again, there's
and there was one fucking thing. It might have been Hey Siri as well, where they had the fucking phone notification sound that fucked me up.
Yeah, there's some of that too. That's also the band, like I was just saying, where they do the fucking Cartman voice for a couple songs. It sounds like.
They have a very high pitched singing style.
Yeah.
For what is still very like a lo-fi egg punky sound.
And again,
I think
Those are things that stand out on first
quickly
blush. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, our lag is really showing at times here. I think the beauty of this album though is like if you wanted to describe somebody to somebody what is egg punk, I think this is a good way of describing what it is. I don't think it's like the definition, but it's very clear enough to know what the difference is between a regular punk or a pub punk and an egg punk sound is.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good way to describe it, I think, is a nice introduction to what the sound is.
Yeah. It's... I mean, there are probably more talented bands out there doing this style. And that's not an insult to Metdog. It's just there is a lot of bands doing egg punk. A lot of them which usually get a bit more highly rated as well. One of the big ones coming out in the scene in Australia is RMFC. I believe Trix is planning on picking that at some point in her life. I don't know exactly when. It probably doesn't even really compare to the other album that I picked this week. I think that one's got a lot more that's going on for it.
Yes.
But yeah, this is a I mean, cute is actually a word that I like to describe this because they go for that kind of style. The style, I think it fits what they've called the album on here. There are some very memorable moments at the start here as well. I think what my computer's for is one of the catchiest tunes on here.
What's my computer for?
Computer for. I don't even anything at all.
That's one of the songs that will classify as a Cartman sung track.
Yeah, I get what you mean on that because it's got that higher pitch vocal style happening. It almost feels like it's coming through a filter.
It also feels like a joke in a way. Like they're putting on a voice.
Yeah, I mean, this... I guess you could kind of call this kind of vibe that they're going for a little gimmicky.
In which egg punk definitely is that sometimes.
Yeah. But, I mean, how many... There's 4 songs on here that has the word computer in the title.
Yeah. The one that has consumer. A similar enough word.
I think the only one on here, like, there's only like 2 or 3 songs you could title with it aren't like technology references. So yeah, there's a bit of a gimmick to it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's truly a gimmicky album. I think there still just is a bit of that theme, gimmick, whatever word you want to use.
Cohesive theming. It's related to the name of the album, questions and answers regarding computers and screens. So naturally, it all kind of relates back to that.
That was kind of the bring up on this. I don't think there's really too much more we can go into. I just think
it's cozy.
For people who want a good introduction into egg punk. Yeah, if you want a good introduction into egg punk, which isn't too scary. I mean, egg punk's not really a scary genre anyway, but if you want one that's like, it's a pretty accessible sound that they have going on here. But it still doesn't stray too far away from it that it's just like, it has egg punk elements.
It's one of those things.
I think this is a good introductory album to the genre.
Like, I'm not in love with Metdog yet, but like if I were to see them on a bill, playing somewhere near me, I'd be like, oh yeah, Metdog. I'd be down to see that.
Yeah, I think it's basically just a for your consideration album this year. I don't think it's going to be a contender.
No, but
it's good, and then there'll be stuff. It gets the thumbs up. It doesn't really get a rating. It just gets a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's not like a question of favorites and least favorites, at least not for me. It's just like, hey, this is a fun time. It goes pretty quickly.
Yeah,
you're just gonna enjoy yourself if you like the sound at all.
Yep, it's just under half an hour.
If you listen to a Petite Lead record, this is in that same ballpark. A lot of the songs are pretty short, so there's really not that much to get bogged down with or anything.
So I do love the album art, which is just all of them pointing at a computer in the middle of a field.
That is what that is, and it's got like a very basic filter on it too. But it works.
Yeah. So, in short, thumbs up.
Hell yeah. What doesn't get a thumbs up though? Thom Yorke's Eraser Rmxs.
You really expected me to say anything about this?
I mean, it's here to balance out the fact that we picked drones because they really don't want to talk about King Limbs and drones at the same time.
Yeah, I agree, but this is like we could probably have our shortest ever talk about an album on the Eraser Rmxs. This is like the same remix done 9 times because that's what it feels like.
One of the songs, I think it's the Black Swan Christian Vocal one, is an early dubstep song. I don't know if it's early in '08, but
some of these artists that are on here are considered to be some of the not the founders of dubstep, but the kind of gateways into it. I mean, Burial inspired Skrillex.
Sure. And
that's the first remix on here. And Fortet is also not that far away from it. I mean, he did I'm pretty sure it was with both Fred again and Skrillex. He was a part of in a bill.
And Thom Yorke did a more collaborations with Mode Selector down the line. So this is kind of a big introduction to like them working together in some way.
But yeah, I just don't care really.
It's slight. It's fine to put on and vibe to if you're into that sort of thing. But beyond that, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
all right. Well, that was the shortest we've ever talked about an album. Yeah. Should we go into the one that we have a lot to say about, which is the other part?
Anyway, it's time to talk about drones. When Muse decided to cash in,
I'll let you do your introduction, and then I'm going to say the take, because listening to this again has really solidified my take.
So Drones was the first album that came onto the scene for Muse for me after Second Law, which was my entry point. This is like the first one where people I know were getting ready for it. I was getting ready for it. I remember I was at my cousin's wedding, and I was listening to it on the way home, and I fell asleep listening to it because I was so bored. So just like, man, they're going for what I think is one of the consistently least interesting topics art in like the 2000s and 2010s could choose, and that's like the modern conflict in like the Middle East and like kind of like soldiers in modern day kind of conflict. Not that it can't be done well. I just think a lot of movies and like music that kind of takes on that idea does so very sloppily and very like generalized and very like they rely on like the setting and like the idea of it versus like having anything important to say, I feel like. And this is a really good example of something like that where we got fucking soldiers are dead inside and they're trained to be psychos. The military industrial complex is fucking corrupt and poisoning people and doing all this shit and making people drones. Got it. Cool. What else you got? I fucking lived through 5th grade.
I'm not doing my take here. I'm just saying, I still can't believe they just like went. There was always a joke about Muse not really being that subtle, I guess, but this was just so unsubtle. It was just insane.
Well, I mean, like, yes, but this is also the band that was like holding up 1984 and making repeated reference to it in the Resistance and being like, yeah, we're really deep. We really reference the book that everybody fucking read in middle school, and and there's no attempt to like go further than that. They really want to hit that main demographic over and over and over. Oh man, people are talking about war and conflict. Well, I think being a soldier can make you a drone sometimes. All right, great. Write it down. That's the whole album.
So, Dominic, what would you say? Not including drones or the soundtracks or I guess the EPs, just the main albums. What would you say their worst opener had been?
The worst opener?
Yeah, to their albums.
I need to check this real quick. I'm gonna say it's not Origin of Symmetry. It's not Showbiz. Absolution has the fucking intro, and that's kind of weak.
I'm considering Apocalypse. I'm considering Apocalypse, Please, as the intro song for that, the opener.
Yeah. That's probably Uprising.
I would agree too. I would agree that Uprising was their worst opener to this point, but at least that song, at least it was like when we say this sounds bog standard for Muse with Uprising nowadays.
Yeah.
And it is still kind of a bog standard song. At least compared to fucking Dead Inside, it sounds like there's a little bit that they're trying on it. And this is where it goes. This is why, in short, Drones is the worst Muse album. I actually haven't heard the ones after it in full. I have no bother in doing it because it's no reason that any of these can be worse than Jones for this specific reason. Even the second law, which a lot of people had considered as Muse's worst albums still to this day, has elements to it in which we go, that was really good.
Supremacy
or that
fucking
was
rips.
interesting. Supremacy and Madness. Madness has its flaws at the start, has one of the best outros Muse has ever written. Supremacy is a fantastic fucking opener. We go to Newborn, we go to Sunburn, we go to Apocalypse Please, we go to Take a Bow, we go to Uprising, we go to Supremacy. They have historically done these big cinematic style openers to these albums, which grab your fucking attention in what, yes, you could say a cliched way, but in the right way. Even Uprising, as their worst, still gets it in a right way. And I still think that album would be better if Resistance was the opener. Don't get me fucking wrong. But Drones doesn't have a song that's better than its opener. And its opener fucking sucks from the second you hear the words dead inside. Because that's when you know they're not trying anymore. They tried and failed on the second law. That is not as a whole critique after this many years. That's just what it was considered as. It was considered an experiment that failed. And instead of them trying something new and continuing and going on, they said, fuck it, we're going to this shitty stadium rock. And the reason why Drones sucks the most out of all their albums up to this point, I don't know what the other ones really are like in full, is because with every single other fucking Muse album, at its absolute worst, you could still go, this was interesting. Name me one fucking second of Drones that sounds either good or interesting, because you fucking can't. It is the most boring fucking album they could have ever put out, because all you can go is, oh, they're using these fucking quotes, which just make you want to the album off. And it's at the start, and I can't remember half of the fucking album. It's impossible to fucking remember it, because how could you? There is nothing nothing grabs your fucking attention. The only fucking thing that does grab your attention is the first words of the fucking first song, because you go, holy shit, that was cringe. There is not a single fucking good thing about Drones. Todd in the Shadows does a really good explanation about how he chooses his worst songs of the years every year. And he goes, what makes a bad song is not the presence of bad in the song. It is the absence of anything good. Because there are moments in which, whilst they can still be bad songs, they have these elements or these moments which can still go on to, I mean, either get some enjoyment, I guess, or even perhaps create a legacy. We'll go compare it to fucking Farrah Abraham of that's an album which, put the joke aside, it's a bad album, but it fucking inspired a whole genre with its difference and its interesting, with just its uniqueness. What the fuck is Drones' legacy going to be? Our fucking Muse is just doing stadium rock now. They did stadium rock, but they did it better. They did it more interesting. They did it in a way. I'll compare it to fucking Radiohead as well. I have a belief that if Radiohead didn't exist, it could have made a fucking OK Computer or something like that. They could have easily done that at their peak. But I'm telling you right now that Radiohead never in their fucking life made a Drones.
No, but I do think if we're going back to the mainline Radiohead versus mainline Muse comparisons, there is an interesting thing to point out here. In terms of where they went in the arc of their music making, this is the 7th album by Muse, and Radiohead's 7th album was In Rainbows. Yep. And for both artists, we went through a trajectory where the albums got bigger and bigger and more complex, to the point that Hail to the Thief was kind of a weird experiment that kind of failed because it was too long and too stuffed with songs, so they went smaller. Ironically, I think that's the same thing that they tried to do here. They had a trajectory that was very clearly plotted, and then after the second law, which follows from the Resistance pretty clearly with the same kind of music like parallels with like the increase in orchestral, increase in electronic, you could draw through lines through all that pretty clearly. This is something different. For them, this is supposed to be different. I fully
when Radiohead stripped it back, Radiohead stripped back what was tying down the album. When Muse strips back, they strip down anything fucking good. There's the big difference.
I think Dead Inside is a really.
I can't tell you the strict radio. Yeah, so I'll let you finish because I don't want to talk about this album.
Dead Inside, you're right, is one of the best songs on here, and it's also not that good. I think if you're looking for what is a Muse song, it has some of those elements. I think the bridge at the end of the song is probably one of the better Muse moments on the album, and then it's like, oh yeah, I can see why I like this band originally. Matt Bellamy's voice can do some really nice things still. That's great. I think if they really wanted to be successful with anything regarding drones, if they wanted to keep this track listing, Psycho and Drill Sergeant should have been first.
So you talked about getting excited for this album. Did you listen to the single when it came out?
Yeah, I believe I did. I thought it was fine at the time. Like, oh, this is not what I expected, but sure.
I remember me and just going, fuck, Muse has gone on the pretentious side again, haven't they? And then the album came out and just
if I'm talking about what is interesting on drones,
I remember being disappointed.
Yes. If we're gonna talk about what is interesting on drones, Dead Inside is a weird song. It's a really fucking weird song on top of it not being great. I think that is worth discussing. I do think the riff on Psycho is kind of interesting, and the fact that they, talked about it and did it on a couple concert albums years ago, was interesting. Cool, they had that riff in mind, they were going to use it eventually. Everything after that, pointless, until we get to The Globalist, where they kind of tie back to some of their earlier songs on the Resistance and things like that, where it sounds a little bit similar, cool. And drones, they do the fucking choral ending where it's all supposed to be like a fucking chorus and they're singing and it's like beautiful, supposedly, or whatever. That's an interesting way to end it, I guess. It's something different for Muse. Beyond that, what the fuck ever. It's fucking surface level revolts. Yeah, people are rising up and doing things, and yeah, we're not gonna do it anymore. We're gonna take it anymore. Blah blah blah. It's like, it's the most uninspired, feel good, like, wow, they really did something storytelling.
I will say this to absolutely everyone, and if you're going to fight me on this, listen to the albums again, and then put your opinion to me. Think is better than The Second Law, you are a fucking idiot.
Drones did not deserve to be as popular as it was. It's very disappointing that this was the fucking one that hit number 1 on the charts.
Yeah.
And everywhere, it fucking hit it in the UK, in America, in the ARIA charts.
This is not the start of the downfall of Muse, but it is the moment in which Muse were never going to go back to their prime. I don't give a crap about the popularity or where they're playing or anything. I'm talking about the actual interesting songwriting that they would have. Instead of putting out albums now where they decided it's a good idea to interpolate fucking Marilyn Manson.
I look at, the Metacritic that's like a 63. And that might not sound that bad, but for music criticism, that's pretty bad. Because music criticism as a whole often will write, passable things about most popular albums, I feel like. They'll find something nice to say. And even if you look at the...
I want to try and rate this fairly, to be honest. I would love to listen to it as many times as I could, properly critique it, and give it a proper score. Because I feel like if you truly gave it a 0, like I want to out of passion, it's not actually a fair score. Because in some point, yes, they have made an album which is just absolutely mid. Could you tell me that there's all these moments on it that are absolutely horrible? There's a lot of cringe moments, but there isn't that much that are absolutely horrible. To me, it is always the fact that it's been Muse. Muse, yes, this has definitely ruined their reputation over years and its legacy and stuff like that. But in their prime, genuinely one of the most interesting alternative rock bands in the noughties. I don't give a fuck about other people's takes or opinions. That's what they were. There weren't much doing what Muse is doing, even if what Muse is doing was copying Radiohead.
And at this point, to me, they were not copying each other. At this point, they definitely were not.
At this point, they weren't. And what fucking Muse basically said that their identity from now on would be this.
but it's also the same
I
identity
have
they've
a
had.
genuine passion to hate this fucking album.
This is still
And I
a
will
take.
hate it to the day I die.
This is still a take on the same faux political stuff they were doing on the Resistance, on Black Holes. It just wasn't this.
It's not just about whatever lyrics they put in, because this is just. I mean, even Knights of Sidonia, which you can give that faux political stuff to that, has one of the most killer riffs, like 5 different times in that fucking song.
Yeah.
And even that you could say is a pretty bog standard stadium rock song at times. And it's not, it's a fucking rhapsody of it. But even just what the actual instrumentation is, it's not like it's experimental avant-garde bullshit. But that's the thing. It's at their least interesting, they could rock, and at their worst, they could be interesting. They could just at least be that kind of band. But Drones just isn't. I can't tell you anything about these individual songs past the first couple, because if you could tell me that you were genuinely interested until the end of Drones in every song, I don't want to talk to you.
I pulled up the Wikipedia page for The Globalist, and then there's the concept section, which I want to just highlight here. The Globalist tells the story of the protagonist's decision to become a dictator intent on destroying everything and everyone by using drones. The song is divided into 3 parts. The first part details the protagonist's origin, as he begins to revolt against the system that didn't raise him with love, and made him want to transform the Earth to his desire. After the protagonist receives a code, which Muse word for word had hid in the song, he began World War III. Backward's code has its fragments from the first 7 songs on the album and consists of the lines Dead Inside, A Fucking Psycho, The World Just Disavows, Killed by Remote Control, Programmed to Obey, I'm a Defector, Our Freedom's Just Alone. In the second part, the protagonist becomes insane and destroys the world via nuclear weapons transferred through drones. The third part of The Globalist deals with the aftermath of the protagonist's decision. He bemoans there is nothing left to love.
My favorite part of this whole Wikipedia page is that the only site that they can get with praise is Rolling Stone, and if that's your high bar, yeah. Oh boy!
Rolling Stone gave this album 4 stars. Again, talking about music criticism, just they're popular. Let's give them a pass or something.
If anyone legitimately considers Rolling Stone to be actual professional critics, I have some snake oil I would love to sell you.
The reason I bring up this concept section is because it highlights my problem, is that there's nothing to this. Yeah, they're saying something.
Yeah.
But it's like the most basic bitch shit about nuclear weapons, World War III, right? Like, there's no substance to it. If you gave this story to fucking Hideo Kojima, he'd make something really interesting out of it. That would hit all the same themes. But you wouldn't be talking about it with these general terms. You'd be talking about Snake doing something. The way Snake and the fucking people that he's up against are reacting and talking and expressing these themes. This is a classic example where just because you're covering something and you're doing it doesn't mean the way you're doing it is actually beneficial or helpful at all. It's the classic thing of like, oh, we have a gay character. We have a gay love story. Yeah, and your fucking movie did it terribly. What does it matter? The same fucking thing of like, wow, we're covering these really deep, emotional, psychological things with soldiers and drones. Like, yeah, and you did it fucking shit. Doesn't matter what your intentions were. It's how it actually winds up. This is the equivalent of like, there's the bro that comes home after watching Full Metal Jacket and is like, oh my god, I just learned what war was. It's so bad. Like, no fucking shit,
There's a big difference between saying something and actually saying something. And this is a case of just not even really saying something. That's how bad it is. I mean, it's one thing to mention the atrocities that are happening in the world every day to day. That's just a reality of life. And then there's one thing to actually mention about what exactly goes on behind those atrocities or how it started or the things. But Muse is somehow just like, yeah, isn't that bad? You know that fucking person that every time a terrorist event happens, they go on Facebook and fish for likes about it, even though they're not related to it in any way? That's how Muse feels on this album.
Did you know you can just get up and fight, and everything will be okay, and you'll find the will to live or whatever the fuck that song's about? Like, that's the shit they're doing. They're fucking the equivalent of your aunt that posts fucking Minion memes on Facebook as a means to like console you or express how happy she is that you graduated from college. Like, don't fucking give that to me. That doesn't mean anything to me. It's a fucking Minion saying like, well, a wise person graduates from college, but a truly, truly smart person knows blah 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 blah. Like, it's stupid. That's my gripe with this. There's no. They never graduated from fucking high school. It feels like they're fucking writing the C+ term paper, and they're saying they're putting all these fucking concepts in there, but it's like, wow, war is sure bad. Here's a metal riff from Muse. Go ahead.
You know what? This is the most offensive I can do to compare it to. This album is like the fucking Jan 6 insurrectors who were fucking playing Killing in the Name.
I think Green Day has a better political record at this point.
That was even more offensive than that. I hate this album. There are albums which I cannot get into, which I just do not like, which I at very worst can say are interesting. I always hate the most out of anything, and this is what this album sounds like, and it doesn't even do it that well, is when it sounds like it was made in a fucking focus group. I can't understand why else this sounds so fucking bland and uninspired. I'm done talking about this. It's shit.
The first 3 songs are canon Muse, and then I can be like, oh, you know, they're trying and they're really failing, and that's fine. Everything after that is just a sin. The Globalist being a sequel to Citizen Erased and pulling from the Resistance and all that shit. Why? What does it matter? You're trying to fucking tie everything together for the fucking Globalist? Sure. No. Fuck you. They were trying something, and it quickly fell apart, and they just kept going. It's like the car that just fucking keeps falling off piece by piece as you're driving down the road, and, well, there went one tire, there went a windshield wiper, there went the fucking trunk of the car, and you just fucking keep going, and it's like, dude, fucking stop. And at least at the end of that, you have a nice car fire to look at. I guess the choral aspect of drones is a little bit like a car fire, and then at least, well, it's something to reflect on as you just think about what you witnessed, but that's it.
I said I was done talking about it. I'm done talking about it. Everything's my least favorite.
Is it the worst thing we've listened to on the show?
This is up there. It genuinely is. It's up there. Part of me thinks that D.D. King at least was a bit more interesting than this. I don't think D.D. King was good or had anything good in it either though. It's up there with it. It really is.
I don't know if I can go that far.
The words I have I idolize this album, and having listened to it for the first time in a while, I'm thinking that maybe my opinions could change a bit. I'd find something. Nope.
Wow. That's fucking drones. Was it worse to be boring, or is it worse to just be bad? I guess we'll find out when we're ranking Radiohead and Muse this week.
It's worse to be boring. I'm fucking telling you that now. The bad has a legacy. Boring doesn't.
Anyway, let's talk about gooning for a minute. Intercepted Message by Osee.
Yeah, that's the one. I was kind of a bit zoned out for 2 seconds there because I was trying to forget everything.
The fish needs a bike. The fish needs a bike. Yeah. Osee's John Dwyer. We're back with this. This is Trix's album pick.
I'm still never going to be a big The Osees fan, but you know this is nice to talk about instead of drones. So I'm happy to do it. 5 seconds, I guess. This was surprisingly more disco-y than I thought it was going to be.
This is more egg punky than I thought it would be.
Yeah, well, like stuff like the closer, I swear, was like a short little electronic instrumental song.
So the
I don't know if
closer
it was actually instrumental, but it felt like a
LADWP hole is literally fucking call waiting music. Like,
Mm.
I have been on the phone with like like the doctor's office, and they fucking played that song or a version of it while you're waiting for them to get back to you.
That's adorable.
And I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing because it follows on from Always at Night having that like phone stuff in it, and it's kind of funny that he put it at the end. But like, yeah, that's a thing that already exists. Unless he made it and then like it just
Dominic,
went on an album.
Can I be really rude and ask you to go on a monologue for 5 minutes? Because I just need to defrost some chicken.
Sure.
So everybody, listen to Dominic's monologue.
So I was listening to the OCs as I was walking around this week because I'm still without a job at the moment, looking to fix that soon, but I was nonetheless out on a stroll. I was in a bookstore in Chicago. There are bookstores, obviously, and this was a... I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a cramped little bookstore. The guy running it's like the guy at the counter kind of thing. Books are everywhere. You know, you're not taking pictures of anything. You can't really be on your phone. He's pretty old school like that. And I just remember listening to songs on this album, kind of walking around. Fish Needs a Bike specifically is just in my head, just like looking at like history books, and like I think I bought a couple things. Yeah. And that was a fun little things connecting that, yeah, you wouldn't really expect. There's like this really weird sounding music with like this old vintage bookstore. But yeah, that's fun. That's cool. It's a nice little memory to have that kind of at least makes the album stand out a little bit in your mind, you know, things you go associate it with. And so, you know, The Fish Needs a Bike is a song that automatically comes to mind now when I think of John Dwyer, just because of, man, that bookstore. That was really cool. And I kept having to pause the music because the guy was talking to me. And so I just keep hearing, that fish needs a bike. That fish needs a bike. And then that's a song about masturbation. Goon. And so, you know, what a fun contrast that is. At the end of the day, John Dwyer, OCs, all that stuff, they're really good. Like, just, they're songs that are nice to listen to, but they don't super stand out a ton of the time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I can remember what Die Laughing, Unusual, and Cruel are totally about or what they sound like. Sometimes with albums like this, it's more of a thing of like, what does stand out? What does break through the din? Because this is someone that's very prolific. And when someone's this prolific, you're going to listen to a lot of songs by them. And because they're putting out a lot of songs, it's not going to be like...
I'm going to make Dominic think how long I've been here for before...
Yeah, I heard you say that.
Before he ends this monologue, it's gonna be funny. Yeah.
There's like when we talk about Uranium Club in a minute, more of those songs stand out because they are doing a story and there are things that kind of connect with them, and they're different enough that you can remember different parts and different things. That doesn't really happen as much when you get to someone like John Dwyer or even Kevin Barnes. I love Montreal to death, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you every song is different, every song is memorable, unique. A lot of them are. I think Kevin Barnes has probably a better range than John Dwyer. But go ahead.
I think this is a similar case to Metdog, in which I admire the sound that's going on here. I think I prefer Metdog as an album to full, to be honest. I admire what's going on here, and I vibe with it listening, but I can't tell you that it's like really, it's not really scratching the brain in the way that I thought it would.
No, yeah, it's kind of bouncing off, but still like there.
Yeah.
Like I was just telling stories about listening to this album, and it's like, you know, there are moments that will stick with me just through either circumstance or because, you know, John Dwyer is talented. There are naturally going to be at least some things that stick out. Even with Drones, yeah. I do think there are some things that stick out. That tells me that the album at least is not totally boring, which is great. But yeah, this is not going to be something I totally will come back to in a couple of years and be like, man, I can remember Intercepted Message all the way through.
That's basically my take.
Fish Needs a Bike is pretty fun, though.
Yeah, I do like the closing and the music. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I mean... That's just a waiting song as it is. I want to know who made it.
Yeah.
Either John Dwyer made it, or I hope at some point he credits the person that actually made it.
There is just an album that was done that I think is a lot more interesting this week.
You want to talk anything more about Intercepted Message?
Do we want to just get to that? No, not really.
Alright. Second shortest discussion topic was Intercepted Message. But yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
I
the
mean,
Uranium Club.
Both the Eraser, I'm just gonna say, both Eraser Rmxs and Intercepted Message at least have the thing of they are listenable.
Yes. Uranium Club.
Yeah, so Uranium Club, originally brought on by Trix.
Yes.
I saw him earlier this year for the tour that they did of Australia for this album, which happened at a bowling club. They even mentioned Australia in the first fucking couple of lyrics of this album.
Yes.
Surfing with terrorists at Bondi Beach. Let's go.
Small gray man. Small gray man.
This is definitely a different sound to what to Metdog and Osees are doing in that kind of style, but I mean there are still moments in this that are unapologetically that kind of style of punk.
Yeah.
And I really fucked with this one actually. There is a lot going on that I think they're doing quite well on this.
I don't know if I loved it as much as you did, but it is still very interesting, and it's a great example of an album where most of the songs do stand out. I don't know if every single one of them does, but I can, more easily pick them apart than I can Intercepted Message.
Well, one thing I'm going to assume really sticks out to you, and it's hard for it not to stick out. And somebody described this to me as just pure cookery. Was his review is the wall.
Yes.
The 4 parts that they have in here, which describe the story of what seems to be a relationship between 2 women and the wall.
Yes. The wall being the important crux of everything.
And it's an interesting story. It is pure cookery. Because it's a case of they're cooking something up. But it doesn't actually have like this real big outro. It's just like they're cooking something up the whole time.
Okay.
Because the first part is like, I'm here to protect you from something that you were afraid of, and it's like, I didn't know that I was afraid. There's a story there, and you're just kind of like, it's done in this kind of way where you're actually interested, and you're just like, okay, what's actually happening here? Because there's so many ways you can interpret what's happening here. So this is the wall. Kind of this manipulative dick is there actually some fear to go onto? And it's
wall.
Interesting to have in the and it's just kind of very soft instrumentation that's happening in the back that feels almost like a fucking alien shit that's happening.
It reminds me of when we listened to Saint Vincent.
I'm just gonna get the fucking stories out for part 3 and 4 as well. Fucking Ken.
Well, part 3 is when the wall goes away and they're crying, and part 4 is when the wall when they build the wall together. So
and then just in the middle of the fucking parts 1, 2, and part 3 is the best song off this album, Tokyo, Paris, LA, Milan.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
That one it's something in the way that the vocals happen on the song, and the kind of build up and gradual build up that happens into the song as well. Into that outro, that's just Tokyo, Paris, LA, Milan.
Yeah,
and it has like the story that's being told in it, and I can't tell you exactly what the story is about, but it grabs your fucking attention the right way.
Interestingly, they talk about
it's what I like about this album that's happening.
Yeah, the Bandcamp talks about unsolved mysteries and that kind of being a big orbiting point for them. Talking about the Somerton Man specifically, which is kind of cool. One of my favorite kind of unsolved mysteries that may or may not have recently been solved. But whether it's unsolved mysteries or if you want to take a more political bent, because Uranium Club is a band that was kind of originally more baked in that old sci-fi 50s aesthetic and is now kind of still honoring that but coming out of it into something more modern and kind of interesting. There's still some politicalness in that. And this is an example of a band that can do subtlety and do some kind of political talk, but also just kind of leave you wondering and leave you kind of asking questions and looking at what they're trying to say, and maybe it's not exactly directly told to you. unlike fucking drones.
And then most importantly, when they're literally not saying anything at all, the riffs fucking bang. I mean, Game Show is a completely instrumental song, and that's got a really nice riff that grabs your attention. And big guitar jack off in the sky as well. Has only got like 2 verses in the whole thing, and they're both like 5-minute songs. I think most of the actual songs, like not the interludes, are pretty long on here. Yeah, like the shortest non-interlude song is "Small Grey Man," which is 4 minutes, and that's another, going to the comparisons of opener here. Yeah, that grabs your attention the right way. That's got very minimalistic instrumentation that's happening on it, and it's mostly carried by the loud shouting vocals.
Yeah, it's
And
something that
this is how they opened up the show, and fuck, it went well.
I can imagine that being fucking great.
I want to trade sex for information.
Oh god, that's so fucking good. The way he sang it is so desperate too. Like, he genuinely just wants to trade sex for information.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's some fucking passion in these vocals, even if it's like these lyrics that you're going, "What the fuck are you on about?"
Even the different ways that he sings Tokyo, Paris, LA, Milan. Like, there is that intensity you were talking about that builds and builds and builds. And just doing that is engaging. It's not asking it to be some really complexly melodic polyrhythm thing. It's just like, we know what we're doing. We're going to take some, simple tricks, some simple ideas, and blow them out the right way they should be.
I think calling this album like just the fundamentals or the basics is an understatement. It definitely has some interesting moments that go on. What this album shine is how they really just do get all the fundamentals of just songwriting. Just really,
it's kind of funny that there's a song called "Abandoned by the Narrator" in between parts 3 and 4 of The Wall as well. They didn't totally abandon them, did they? Hello? Fritz? Are you there, darling? Hello? What the fuck happened?
hello. I think Discord had a fuck up because I haven't lost any internet connection, but we can't connect to the server properly.
Yeah, no, that's really fucking weird. That's never happened like that before.
That's interesting. In the middle of my rant as well. Sorry about the connection problems that's happened, everyone. This is what happens when you record overseas. That's a story to tell the kids. I mean, assuming none of us are having kids.
Anyway.
I forgot what I was on it. Oh yeah. So it's like, it's just that I feel like the basics of their songwriting are just executed really fucking well on this album.
Which I don't know if I would have totally expected.
Your attention there. It's just the simple parts of it.
Like, they were really tight, and they were really, good for what they were in the earlier albums that we listened to. We didn't listen to the one in between, the early stuff in this, but like, I'm very surprised and glad that they have matured as much as they have.
And it's good. I mean, I think this is their best work that we've listened to.
I really want to cover Cosmo Cleaners now.
Which one did the Cosmo Cleaners have on it? I don't know if they played any of their songs live. I don't think they did. I think they only played songs from All Them Naturals and Human Exploration.
Interesting.
I know from memory we got Sunbelt. Yeah, I mean, this is the album of the week for me.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure. I was really coming into this not knowing what was going to rank where, because I think it's all of a similar quality, and that there's 2 tiers to this, definitely. And you can break down those tiers a little bit more minutely when you get into them. But this, John Dwyer, Metdog, they're all of a similar quality. And I think, you could very well convince me that this is the number one.
It should convince you, because I think it's so much more memorable than the other 2 albums. This is where basically all my attention went to in the Egg Punk Spear this week.
I can't say that I disagree with that, though. That's the thing. You're right. I would not have thought about it, really. If I was going to do it before we talked about it, I probably would have said Osees, but no, this is definitely the number one.
Favorites for me: Small Grey Man, Viewers Like You, Tokyo, Paris, LA, Milan, and Big Guitar, Jack Off in the Sky. Least favorites probably something like 2600 Lullaby.
I like the Wall series. I like Small Grey Man, Tokyo, Paris, LA, Milan. Excuse me. My least favorite, probably The Ascent or Big Guitar, Jack Off in the Sky. I don't know. I feel like going for the entendre there at the end is a little limiting, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I just like the instrumentation in it though.
That's totally.
I mean, it's a mostly instrumental song. I know there is some verse.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. In the end, I think I didn't really properly listen to the album until like 2 days before I saw him live. But
that's totally fair.
That's how it happens.
And
sometimes I go into music blind.
And there's something too. It's like when you're first listening to it and you're not into it, or you're not like listening to it with purpose, it's gonna sound completely different than when you're actually listening to it with purpose and you're trying to like get into it. At least I think.
Rankings for the week.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
I can do this pretty easily for me. Least favorite: Drones, Eraser Rmxs afterwards, Osees, Metdog, Uranium Club.
Well, I will say Uranium Club's definitely at the top. Oh, man. Probably put Osees next, then Metdog. Oh, God. The last two, I don't know. Drones is worse overall, but it has moments.
Well, there's your answer then.
But the Eraser Rmxs doesn't really have many moments. It's kind of just boring.
I know. It wasn't like it was gunning for third for me.
I think if I'm gonna really think about it qualitatively, Eraser Rmxs, there's nothing super offensive on that. It is fine. Usually boring is worse, but in this case, I think Drones is worse. And I will even comp Drones the first 3 songs. Still worse.
With that, what are we doing next week, Dominic?
It's the moment you've been waiting for, Ritz. It is Cybergrind week.
Oh, don't do it to me.
It's Cybergrind!
We're going to absolutely cook this week, lads. We're going to make sure we listen to the most unbearable music alive. I'm just fucking with your Cybergrind artists. You already know what you make.
It's from what it seemed like, Trix might pick Porcupine Tree or something. Who knows? But we have both talked about picking Cybergrind.
Well, I've got quite a bit that I was gonna pick this week actually. I'm just trying to find where I fucking put it.
How many things are you picking?
Alright. I'm picking 3 artists.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot until you realize how short Cybergrind releases are. So, one is going to be a 2024 album. That's going to be the new Super Def album, Bare Your Teeth. They kind of go into a very... Is this Cybergrind, I guess? But I think they're in a very fair enough sphere that I can count them with them. Just because I don't think we're really going to have another chance to talk about it. Yeah. They're the Australian one from it. And then the other one, which is the New Zealand one, is Death Tripper. And their album, it's their album, Death Tripper Season, which came out in 2023. Keep in mind that these 2 in total now have only gone for 34 minutes. So then the one thing to finally finish this on, because this has been a wrap-up of the Your Arms Are My Cocoon tour in Oceania, and the Cybergrind that was picked there, which was Super Def up in Brisbane, Death Tripper in New Zealand, and touring with Your Arms Are My Cocoon was obviously a Blind Equation. So I'll pick their last album as well.
Blind Equation.
Deferates.
It's time to listen to Blind Equation. We've been waiting for it. You know it. You love it.
Yeah,
Um.
this is always going to happen for a while.
All right. Well, I went a different route with this. I'm first picking the artist that I literally brought up on the Dan Macy interview just to be like, do you know this artist? Are they any good? And they're like, yeah, they're great. It is time to listen to Zoll and their album, We Used to Be Cringe on the Internet. Now we're just faggots.
What a fucking title. Holy shit.
Now, I was going to pick 3 originally, but I went down to 2 because I wasn't sure if it'd be too much. But one that Dan Macy brought up was Sleeping on Stardust.
Yes, I thought there was no way we're not picking that.
So we can listen to Sleeping on Stardust as well. Their album, I think it's like a kind of a compilation in a sense, but it is a new album from 2024, Retro Violence, Modern Conflict. Now, we can throw the third one I was going to pick in there if you want, unless you think that's too much.
How long is both of these albums? They don't look too long in total.
They're about half an hour each.
How long's the third album?
Let me double check for you.
Because I don't want to base it off who the artist is. Not that it's really going to matter with Cybergrind, with how much we know. But I figured...
minutes.
Fuck it, put it on.
Alright, then the third pick, it's time to listen to Douglas Sheridan with Video Hell. Which means this is Online Friends.
Yep. If it was like an hour, I would say no, but I figured this is a fair enough thing. Yeah, the last song is Meat Lottery, Shut the Fuck Up, Amy. It cuts off.
I don't have a murder fetish, is how that ends.
Trix will probably put out something. We don't know. Trix has been asleep this whole episode. So anybody who wants to buy our clock, make sure you leave a message that's wake up, Trix.
Yes. I will just recap everything real quick. So we're doing a big cyber grind week next week. Trix is gonna pick something else probably, but that's totally fine. We can have a little bit of balance here. Ritz has picked Super Death's Bare Your Teeth, Death Tripper Season by Death Tripper, and Blind Equations Death Awaits. I have picked Zoll's We Used to Be Cringe on the Internet, Now We're Just Faggots, Sleeping on Stardust's Retro Violence, Modern Conflict, and Douglas Sheridan's Video Hell. I am Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter. Dominic Chikoki on YouTube if you must. I am also on the Games My Mom Found podcast sometimes. We just, not long ago, did an episode about Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. It's on the channel, I'm sure, by now. I will link it in the description or something. And yes, Trix's stuff is in the description. Buy our clock, as you've heard, the Dissonant Waves, as a Patreon now. If you'd like to follow us on Patreon, please do. I have a GoFundMe link out there because of the stuff that's happened to me. If you want to donate to that, there's no requirement, but it'd be cool if you did. Honestly, if of the two, I'm sure you'll end up having a lot of cooler stuff getting it out of our Patreon than my GoFundMe, but, you do what you want to do. Beyond that, though, that's going to be about it. Anything else you want to say?
Remind me to do my next music wrap-up, I guess, or the gig wrap-up. Not so long, because that took 30 minutes to get through.
Fair enough. And don't forget...
although, it is good filler.
Fair enough. Anyway, after this week, Ritz, don't forget, 169 is just around the corner.
Shit, it's the comedy episode.
Our comedy episode. Get ready for that, everybody. Have a wonderful time existing. Bye-bye.
See ya.